Oh, we back like Eric Ten Hag on a night in which we tuned in, let's be honest, in fear that the Simpsons chuckles "I'm in danger" meme would be lived out before our very eyes. Instead, I think we're going to win the World Cup again, baby. This was a night in which our boys Mark Twained it. We faced Brazil. We looked them in the eye. Reports of our death, greatly exaggerated. 1-1, a 1-1 win. First ever draw in our nation's history on the men's side against Brazil. Sweaty electric night in Orlando. We'll live it all in this Do It Live, presented by our friends at Allstate, the magic humans behind our Tyler Adams show, The Captain. And now this beauty tonight, in which we'll talk through this immense victory. Good Lord. First, the United States cricket team beat Pakistan. Now, we're destroying this Brazil side, or at least keeping them at bay. We dream so much. We yearn for 2026. And tonight, we felt all the emotions. And I'm not here alone. It's a true joy to be joined by a gent who is an exclamation point in human form. A TikTok maestro with a scorcher of a shot. The pride of Edmond, Oklahoma, turned proper baggy as West Brom striker O Wonder. One of my favourite US men's national team characters of recent yore as he rehabs from an agonising Achilles injury. He's taking the ill-advised by doctors rehab step of hanging out with me. Wahoo wah to the great Daryl Dike.
Hello. Hey, guys.
Daryl, it's good to see you. Tell us before we dive into all that wonder from Orlando, how are you feeling physically in the DK rehab?
I feel good, actually. I feel, things are going along really well, so I'm happy for that. And yeah, just kind of trucking along right now.
Bite your arm off to be trucking along right now, Daryl. Bite your arm off for you to be back in the red, white and blue. But Daryl, rule number one of this show, and I need to remind our listeners, do not read too much into friendlies. Rule 2, Brazil, not in the face. But we are not here alone. This is a Do It Live, which means you, dear GFOPs, are going to be a massive part of the show. You can ask us questions about football or life. The United States, what happened tonight, the Copa. Just scan the QR code in the top left of your screen, take you into a Zoom with our producer Tony, who'll get you set up to ask your question. Come and be with me. It's audio only, so you don't even need to put a pair of pants on. The questions will come later in the broadcast, but get in line now. Come on up. Make sure you get yours in before our time was up. And if you can't wait, just slap it into the comments. Get in the chat. Give us a like, baby. And we will rock it. By the way, very quickly, Los Angeles fans, come and be with me and Brendan Hunt of Ted Lasso fame and guests at El Rey Theatre, June the 19th, for a live show on the eve of the Copa. It's going to be a magnificent night. Tickets available right now in the chat, in the show notes of this podcast, and across our social. Come and be with us, because I'm pretty convinced right now the US is going to make the final of the 2026 World Cup. We're playing Saudi Arabia there, naturally. I'm not meant to tell anyone, but dream big. Before we dive in, start with a quick toast. Raise my first Michelob Ultra of the night to news of the surprise nation. I don't know if you heard this, Daryl. Fans from 134 countries bought tickets to the Euros, Europe's premier men's international tournament, and the leading nation in terms of tickets purchased, according to Viagogo reseller, staggeringly 27% of all tickets to Euro 2024, even more than the host nation Germany. Daryl, it's America.
Yeah, that's sick. That's actually it's a little bit surprising, honestly, considering we're not even in it.
Yeah, but I still bloody think we're going to win it, baby.
Hopefully so, maybe.
I think there's no stopping us, mate.
With Copa America and the Euros, we'll do the double.
Well, yeah, do the double. Give us all the trophies. What percentage of the 27% of American fans who brought tickets think America are playing in it, Daryl? I think we're about to find out. But it is an incredible night to be with you. We're going to break down the game together. But I need to know, before we start talking about this surprising night, this night of wonder, this night of relief, how is it for you, a gent who plays football at an elite level, plays for the United States of America with so many of these players? What kind of a watcher are you when you can only watch and not play, when you can't impact the outcome of the game? Different footballers react differently to just watching. How do you find it?
Yeah, I think when you're first watching the game, right, I get a little bit upset because obviously, naturally, I just want to be there. It's been my dream. It's been everything. I've always worked super hard to go and try and play with the national team. So obviously, that's something I would really, really, love to do. But like when I watch the game, also, I know a lot of the guys. They're my friends. They're everything. The guys I've seen train, I've trained with, I've done everything with. So I'm still a fan. I'm still a supporter. I've always been a USMNT supporter my entire life. And of course, it's frustrating that I can't be there. But I mean, who wouldn't want to play Brazil, of course? But in the end, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for everybody there, and I'm happy that they get the opportunity to go and play and compete at a high level. And as they did that so well. So yeah, of course, it's bittersweet. It's unfortunate, but it's still me watching U.S. men's national team soccer and being able to watch them compete at the high level. So I enjoy that.
Double D, you're a big-hearted bastard. You really are. I would probably think I would be as gracious and as remarkable as you. But let's dive into what we witnessed. We knew this was going to be a borderline mission impossible tonight, if we're being honest. Playing a team against whom we had one win ever, 1998, when the great Casey Keller stood on his head to preserve a victory. Brazil has won 11 straight games against us since. And we were really wobbling in. That 5-1 beatdown against Colombia still stings from the weekend. I think our worst ever loss in 8 years. This felt very fight or flight time coming into this one. Hello, darkness, my old friend, or redemption. Berhalter talked before the game, we're not chasing a result. We're chasing a performance. And Daryl, I've got to ask you this. As a player, on the rare occasions, I've not looked this up statistically, I'm just saying on the rare occasions when you've lost heavily, I can't imagine there are many, can you just forget about that result and move on? Or does it linger in your head when you take the field?
I think for me personally, right, I'm someone who I'll dwell on it maybe the day or two, but luckily for a lot of the players, what kind of ends up happening is, I mean, quick turnaround. You have that game, you have that big defeat, unfortunate, but you got to wrap your head around it, and then you have to think, okay, how can I react? Oh, we have a game in 3 days. Oh, we have training tomorrow. How can we work to get to the next game? How can we go and do that? And so I think honestly, you just kind of go into the next game thinking, okay, I need to focus on the next game. That game's in the past. We correct the mistakes. We do, repeat the good things that we did, but on to the next one, so which they did, and they showed.
Professional footballers do have the ability to repress, almost erase that last game and just refocus, wipe it clean.
Yeah, I think a little bit. Obviously, I'm not going to lie and say it's not in the back of your head, because it is. But because naturally, we're all competitors, you're going to feel that way. But that also being said, with the quick turnaround, with the quick next game, especially a big game in Brazil, I mean, you're thankful that you have another opportunity to make things right, as they did.
The crowd, very, very yellow-shirted, massively Brazilian. Remind me, Daryl, what part of Brazil is Florida exactly in?
No, to be fair, tons of Brazilians, tons of South Americans all live in Orlando anyway. So that doesn't surprise me too much. And even when I played there, we had a whole bunch of Brazilian players on the team. So, and even Nani spoke Portuguese as well, because he's from Portugal. So there were tons of, just Portuguese being spoke around the training ground. But yeah.
It was parabéns, obrigado. There was a lovely moment before the game when I'm pretty sure it was the national anthem singer had a hot mic just before he started to sing the American national anthem, and his last words before he went up to begin was, God, there's a lot of Brazilians out there, which I just love. Couple of big changes to the lineup. Poor Johnny Cardoso, grew up in Brazil, dropped. Pepe got the start up front. We'll talk about both of them. Michael Macari in the chat says, Americans often do need geography lessons. Yes, especially the 27% who are buying tickets for the Euros, Big Mike. But I'll be honest, Brazil were the last team we wanted to face tonight. We've been slapped around by the Colombians. This felt a little bit like being beaten up by Super Macho Man in Nintendo Punch-Out and then having to face Mike Tyson himself. Brazil so deep, so much more potent. The Seleção, probably of all the people Greg wanted to face, this would be the last. after that walloping. Honestly, there was a story in the English paper today about when a Scottish manager, Craig Brown, in I think it was the 1998 World Cup, faced Brazil. Two teams prepared to take the field in France, Stade de France, actually. Craig was a hilarious character. The tunnel, they were kept in the tunnel forever, and the nerves, the Scottish players crapping themselves as they looked at these famous gold and yellow shirts. And Craig Brown, the manager, just suddenly walked right down the middle of the two teams, turned to Brazil in their just glowing, winning colours, then turned back to his Scottish players and said, "Lads, look at them. They're absolutely shitting themselves." I mean, Daryl, when you've had to play a massive team, I've spoken to a ton of the US players off the record after big tournaments in the 2000s, when they faced a big team like Ghana or even Belgium in 2014. They said they'd admit privately that they took the field in their hearts, not really expecting to win. Do you relate to that at all, or is that just that's for in 2024 for an American player? That's just a foreign notion, not expecting to win.
Yeah, I think that's obviously a difficult one, because there's some sides you come up against and you just know, okay, this is going to be a very difficult game. As I imagine every single player looked up against, Brazil and thought, wow, this is going to be a very difficult game. But I don't think you can entirely go into any match saying like, okay, we're going to lose, because then you probably are going to lose if you think that. And I think if you kind of have the winning mentality, or the mentality that you're going to go out and put a performance on, then that's how you're going to be able to compete. That's the only way you're going to be able to compete, which all the guys on the national team, you don't get there without being a competitor. I'm sure every single player on that team has played someone who they've been like, oh goodness, like that's a really good team. That's a really good side, this and that. And if you ever go into a match thinking you're going to lose, you're probably going to lose. Of course, you can respect your opponent. I'm not saying you go in there and think that they're not going to be good, but you still have to respect yourself and kind of think, okay, I'll be able to put in a performance. There's a reason I'm on this pitch. There's a reason I'm able to compete with these guys.
That structure that you've just laid out there, I think is so important to tonight. I mean, we'll talk more about it during the game itself, but it was the mentality with which they approached this game that felt so different to the Colombia devastation at the weekend. Tim Weah said something funny before kickoff. He said, the team, we've been back in the lab, which I just love. And from the off, you could see we attempted to show we were not overawed. As fans, I think we wanted to see a modicum of tactics, a lot of fight. But we also wanted to make sure that we didn't concede early. And the US almost did the opposite. Inside 5 minutes, we almost scored a big boy goal. That strike from Yunus, beautiful Musa. He absolutely lashed one. He battered one, obliterated one off the crossbar. Ball bounced down off the back of Alisson, agonisingly close to the line. So close, so bloody far. Were you out of your seat in that minute, Daryl? Because I moosed myself. What does it feel like to strike a ball that cleanly?
See, when you strike a ball that cleanly, those are the ones where you don't even feel your foot touch the ball. Your foot just keeps going, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh, that one was a good one. And even Yunus, I know I messaged him when it happened, so he'll see it after. But I even messaged him, and I was like, I've never seen you strike a football like that ever. I have never seen Yunus strike a football like that ever. So, but it was so close. I wish it went in. I'm surprised it didn't go off Alisson's back into the goal as well. But
were the scenes in the DK viewing party?
Yeah, no, because obviously my parents are super big fans, so they just were screaming and everything. Because we were downstairs, and because I'm actually in the Bahamas right now, but we were downstairs, and there's like a big TV room and stuff like that with all the sports on. Actually, the Celtics Mavericks game's on right now, but tons of people were watching it. Everyone was going crazy when that happened.
Double D sacrificing NBA playoffs to come hang out with us, and I'd say special family time. We'll get you back, baby. We'll get you back. Pulisic next to break the line, smash one into Alisson's tummy. Green shoots of recovery. By the way, Pulisic then did something that we didn't see in the entire Colombia game. He took out Rafinha intentionally, calculated piece of violence designed to really send a message. I think an important message that this would be a fight. That the Americans would not be pushed around, would not be bullied, would not be intimidated. Did you see that? Did you like that?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the little tenacity by him because you see, it's very easy, like you said at the beginning, to be a little bit timid going into these matches. Be like, okay, we're playing a tough opponent, we're going to be scared, this and that. But kind of sending a message early, because I can guarantee you that was one of the first things that was said in that changing room was make sure you send a message early. So when you send a message, boom, strike off the crossbar. 5 seconds later, kick through the foot, foul. Yeah, of course. But like, we're here. We're not going to let you just kind of dribble, do whatever you want, and get by us. Especially in the back, we're not letting you do that. You're not taking the piss out of us. You know. So that's kind of what it is.
I love that. Come and have a go if you
Yeah.
think you're hard enough. By the way, Daryl, you're getting a lot of love in the chat. Jake Hookie says, footballer, gentleman, poet Daryl Dike. It is so. Honestly, I'm a deeply inarticulate human being, also crap at football. Spend some time with a man who's great at both. Joy of my lifetime. We were also looking for a team who made better decisions on the ball. And the opening to the game was promising in that we didn't leak early and often. But there were the old signs there suddenly of players making poor decisions in key areas of the field. Around 15 minutes, attempt to play out the back. It was Yunus Musa coughed it straight up. Vinicius Jr. fired the resulting chance right at Matt Turner. A warning shot. A minute later, Tim Weah dribbled into double coverage with his head down. Vinny Jr. immediately just blazed right down the wing, thrashed another right at Matt again. Third time now, 30 seconds later, Matt Turner bowled the ball out long to Weston, who was immediately swarmed. I was actually really impressed with just how quickly Brazil moved the ball forward when they sprung the trap. US transition defence was at slumber settings. Rodrigo charged in lethally, as he does for Real Madrid, finished ruthlessly, pumped up the crowd again as if it was a home game. Then poor Matt Turner I can't stand watching poor Matt just thrash the floor in agony. It honestly breaks my heart. But this was a nightmare for the US, Daryl. Another self-inflicted wound. And in those moments, you have to suddenly chase the game and open yourself up. What does that feel like psychologically, Daryl?
Yeah, I mean, psychologically, the first immediate thought, maybe a negative thought, would be like, oh no. Especially like you were talking about the game before, it'd be like, oh no, not again. But I think obviously, when you have leaders on the pitch, Tim Ream, Christian, other guys who've been playing a lot, they're looking at each other and they're picking each other up. They're saying, okay, we're not doing this again. We've honestly been competing this entire match just now. So we're not going to let a few of these, mistakes or this goal, put us down. We've shown that we can compete with these guys. We just have to do it for another 70 odd minutes or whatever it was. That's kind of the mindset, the mentality that they have to keep going with. We're going to keep playing our game. They're going to try and counterattack. They're going to try and press. They're going to try and do these things, but we're going to keep playing our game because so far it's actually been working pretty well.
Oh, everyone did step up their game. By the way, J Pro in the chat says, I need Daryl Dike to know he is my favourite striker to play as in Dream League Soccer 24. Oh, Daryl.
Thank you, J Pro.
Do you play Dream League Soccer 24, Daryl?
Nah, I don't.
If you were to choose a striker to play, who would you play?
I don't even know what Dream League is. I'm not going to lie to you.
The answer's Beto, and I think it may be that J Pro is the inventor of Dream League 24 and is just getting me to plug at you, crafty bastard. But for a moment, did become one-way traffic. Felt like we'd savoured Musa hitting the bar like that lovely violin solo aboard the Titanic. But Christian Pulisic had other ideas. First ever game against Brazil for Christian, which is amazing. He charged up the gut, was hacked down at the edge of the area by Hal Gomez of Wolves, and then stepped right up, lashed the ball. Like Elvis Costello, his aim was low and true, with zip and murderous intent. And it just zipped along that wet Florida grass and with venom went through Allison. An astonishing moment just of exclamation point, joy and relief mushed together. Massive, much needed, a much needed reaction to so much, to be honest, for the United States. But what was the goal? Was it the precision? I asked you this while we were watching. Was it the precision of CP10, or was it the slightly recklessly dodgy Brazilian wall, or was it both?
Yeah, I think it goes a little bit both. I think the wall obviously could have been a little bit better. Allison, obviously, he took a step to the left before, so I think he cheated. But once again, like when you have top players like Christian, who's, like that, you can't make mistakes like that because he's going to punish you, as he did. And if you leave an opening for him like that, that's kind of what good players do. That's what really good players do. They take advantage of it. And yeah, his finish was good. I mean, I don't think you can really get much better. Obviously, ends up going in the back of the net. So yeah, I think it was good. It was a good free kick. It was a good goal.
Corker, baby. There was confidence on the ball suddenly that we didn't have at all against Colombia. International teams are such odd creatures, Daryl. You know that. You play club football, you play international football. You know that international teams come together so fleetingly, have to develop chemistry in so much less time than your domestic teams. The Germans even have a word, Turnier-Mannschaft, which describes a team who win a tournament by finding their form and rhythm game to game. They look like crap in the early games, but suddenly find the right formation, the right personnel, the right rhythm, the right culture. I felt like we were watching that in real time. When you look at these are friendlies. These are what friendlies are for, people, not for freaking the F out. They're for finding combinations, finding a collective sense of self, a mentality. But how does that happen, Daryl, on the field?
Yeah, I think you kind of collectively just understand your teammates through training throughout the week, obviously staying through the friendlies, and on the field it's talking. I think a lot of the thing is talking and just understanding your teammates. For example, I imagine that Weston knows Christian likes there's certain runs that Christian will make, certain types of balls that Christian likes. I'm sure Christian's playing, he knows, okay, if I'm playing with Pepe, then he's playing a certain way. If I'm playing with Flo, it's a certain way that he's playing. If I'm playing with Josh, it's a certain way. And I think that's kind of the thing is, and you keep learning that each game, each minute passes by. Second half, you go into the cooling break that they had today. Hey, try this. Hey, try that. You go into halftime. Hey, try this. Hey, try that. And you just kind of keep building and building and building because, like you said, in club you train every single day, and then versus with the national team, you come back every few months or so, train for a week, maybe week two, and then compete. So I think obviously communicating is the one thing that you have to do because people also just aren't going to always get it immediately.
Chris Richards talked before the game about how he hoped in this one the US would change their mentality, that they'd find, in his words, an intensity. That seemed to be what we were witnessing. But what did you witness? What did you see? Did you see something mentally different in the performance tonight?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can see the desire, right? I think it's the personality, it's the desire, because like you said earlier, I think the press for Brazil was incredible. I think it was very difficult to break them down. But that also being said, that was one of the things that was working for the States, for us. That was working for the guys. Is every single time they were able to break the press, they kind of kept going. Every time they broke the press, they'd get a chance. They'd go and get and make an attack. And I think that's something that's very important. Is that even after maybe a few of these mistakes, they said we're going to play our game. We're going to keep going because it's going to work. It's going to happen. It's going to work. And it ended up working. We break out, and then Christian goes, gets fouled, goal. And even lots of chances in the game, it comes from us playing with personality, which I think they did a lot during the game against the top opponent, which a lot of people would shy away from.
By the way, a central part of the storyline should be that we scored from a bloody set piece, which we've had so much trouble at, and is so key in international football to create a chance, take a chance. We'll talk about how fundamentally different this performance was tonight to some of the more flamboyant attempts at international play. I'm looking in the chat. Sam Hedges, there's no coincidence. We tie England and Brazil playing the same way. When we're tactically flexible, we are successful. We'll get to that, Sam. But I do want to ask you, because you are an elite striker. God, Daryl Dike goals should count for 2 because they're filled with such joy for me personally, man. They really are. But at striker today, we had Pepe. It was Pepe's night. I do revere that man. I think when you think about tenacity, which I ultimately think is the most important quality for this US men's national team, Pepe is that. Didn't have too much service tonight. I think just one chance created by him on the night. You play with all these guys. Pepe, Flo Balogun, Haji Wright, our fit strikers. Striker to striker, how do you handicap their differences?
Well, you're saying like, how do I?
When you look at these three guys, the 3 guys that we have who are fit, Pepe, Ballo, Hadji?
Yeah, I think for me, I think in comparison to like me, like when I play, obviously it obviously everybody brings something. Pepe's it's his runs, how smart he is. Balogun, it's how how he gets involved in the play. Same thing kind of with Haji. Haji's ability to just kind of disrupt defenses. And I think that's something that I kind of obviously love to do is I love to just to be on the end of things, love to make the other defenders' lives just difficult and make my team's lives easier. I'm always going to make the running behind. I'm always going to be, contesting for every ball, holding up the ball and everything, and make everybody's job around me easier. And that's just kind of what I do. And I think, yeah, I think that's how I can, do something different.
Can I ask you, by the way, when you are drawing strength from making defenders' lives miserably, is there a moment in the game where you're looking at the defenders like bending over, deep breaths, wheezing, that you're like, yeah, I got this, I'm winning this psychologically, I'm winning this physically?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think obviously as a striker, anybody on the pitch, you always want to go and you compete obviously as a team, but you also compete against the person you're directly competing against. So I imagine, you're looking at a winger looks at a fullback and he's like, I'm gonna win. You're gonna lose today. I look at, center halves, I look at both of them and I think, okay, I'm gonna win today. Like you're gonna lose today. For me, it's satisfying, of course, when I see them starting to get tired, starting to get frustrated, things like that. And when that happens, you just, okay, I'm helping the team out. I'm helping myself out and I'm helping the team out. And, collectively it's good for everyone around.
David in the chat says, agreed about the pragmatism. Amazing what can be done when you play that pragmatic football, make the other team make mistakes. Sam Hedges in the chat, one of the first games where we've had intensity in the way the old guard did. We'll talk about that, Sam Hedges. But we get to half time. It's 1-1. Honestly, felt like a victory. Really, really did. After Colombia and that opening spell, I realised US games, these friendlies, are almost like boarding a flight. You just want to take an uneventful flight and you feel great about life. You've been in that locker room of that team at halftime. What would the mood have been? Can you describe what you imagine would have happened in that?
Yeah, I think when you look at the overall mood, I think everyone's going to be happy. I think everyone's going to be looking at each other saying, "Okay, guys, we got to keep our head up. We got to keep going. We got the game back. It's 1-1, and we're showing that we can compete with these guys." But that also being said, they're going to be telling each other that, "Hey, this team, they've shown us warning signs." When you have a player like Vinicius Jr., when you have players like Rodrigo, when you have players like Rafinha, who are all going to be counterattacking you like that, I think you obviously have to make sure that your focus is at the top level. So I can imagine Greg, I can imagine all the players, I can imagine they're all, making sure that they're all staying focused, although, still being happy, still making sure that everyone keeps the intensity going into the second half.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I don't know who speaks up in that locker room. I don't know. I mean, I know Tim is like the elder, the venerable elder who, everybody looks to, Tim Ream. But tonight, and particularly in the first phase of the second half, I was really impressed. Not so much by the play, Daryl, but the mentality, just the fight, the grit. This was energy sapping the Heat there in Orlando. This team was locked in, collective, old school US men's national team style. It's what it looked like to me, just a fight. There was that beautiful moment, Gio Reyna, but it's not beautiful. It was, he got fouled. The defender's foot came over the ball into his sock, ripped his sock. Liverpool fans in the chat, no doubt, telling me that Liverpool players get sent off for that kind of foul. And Gio could have just stayed down and just like milked it and just been in agony. Gio laughed it off. Gio pointed to the referee, said, "Yeah, hole in my sock." Gio got the hell up, and Gio just then quickly got back double teaming with his old mate Joe Scally. This was really ferocious stuff. And tonight I saw a team that wouldn't be intimidated, that did learn its lessons from the Colombia game, that wouldn't be physically forced to buckle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you can see that in every single game. Even like obviously, like I said, like we were talking about earlier, from minute one when Christian goes and kicks the person, and then you see Timothy Weah come over and start getting involved. Everybody starts getting involved. There are multiple times where
Tim Weah got involved about 5 minutes afterwards. That was one of the
yeah,
latest. I was trying to work out where Tim Weah
he
ran
had
in
to
from.
he had to run from the opposite end of the pitch. But you see that, you see how collectively they are as a group. Even things like Chris Richards and potentially in the foul, you see how collective the group is, and I think that togetherness, that kind of teamwork, that kind of camaraderie, that's something that gets you through the games. And so when you see things like Gio getting up and being like, okay, like I'm not letting you guys phase me, even though you just kicked me and studded my shin off, but like I'll be all right. I'll be all right. We're gonna keep going. I'm not gonna let this phase me.
I honestly loved what we saw tonight from this US team. I want to say, I wouldn't care if we lost games like this. I really wouldn't. I don't like us losing games. But ultimately, why do we watch? You tell us in the chat. You come in your questions. Why do we watch this US team? And tonight, I saw a collective who were fearless, audacious, confident. And I loved it. I loved watching them. And I hope they are, I mean, God, I hope they are just reveling in this performance tonight, drawing strength from it, hoping to build on it. We have an Allstate player of the game that we need to announce. And I was thinking about it deep and long in the second half. For me, I'm going to ask you in a second, Daryl. I'm going to go Joe Scally because that poor gent, huge pressure on his shoulders. Serginho Dest is out. Who's going to do the nutmegs? That's the question we're all asking. Joe Scally is in there. Poor gent had to mark Luis Diaz against Colombia. And today, he only had to mark Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo. Got to say, his partner in crime, Gio Reyna, gave him immense cover tonight. The two were it's like watching the Troy and Abed of US football. I remember the last time Joe Scally came on our show, he said his dad's advice to him was never let them go baseline. Talking about the NBA playoffs, but incredible advice from middle school gyms in Lake Grove, New York, for one of the, and it worked against one of the greatest attackers in world football right now. So to you, God bless Joe Scally, you incredible man. But Daryl, who was your gem?
See, I think watching it, I actually want to maybe give it to Matt Turner. I think he actually had a few good saves. He had a whole bunch of saves, and not even let alone the saves. His distribution was very good. Like the ball that he played to Balogun in the second half. I think he did very, very well. And then on top of that, I think Weston maybe started off a little bit slower, but he kind of grew into the game a little bit more. You watched him get a little bit more involved. You watched him start tackling, putting his body in the line, aerial duels. I think it's probably between them, but I think I'd give it to Matt. I think I'd give it to Matt Turner.
You know what? Ultimately, no one cares about Rog. Everybody agrees in the chat with the mighty Daryl Dike. 59% give Matt Turner the All-State Man of the Match award. How did Joe Scally only get 19%? Honestly, that is genuinely a rigged election. But Matt Turner, I mean, not just, I think it was 11 saves tonight. But the tenacity, that gentleman has had a season of challenge at Nottingham Forest, a season of the goalkeepers who are not making the team. It's the hardest position. You don't even get subbed in. You don't even get minutes. You're just there fathoming the abyss. And he has looked shaky, and he had so much challenge, and everyone is placing his distribution under scrutiny. And tonight, 11 saves. It was honestly like a dance-off the second half between Alisson and Matt Turner. And I just hope, because he's the most beautiful human being. He really is a remarkable man. His whole career is forged in failure, learning from failure, overcoming failure, and becoming stronger and stronger and living his dreams. I find it very inspirational. 11 saves for Matt Turner. So bloody happy. Joe Scally, hipster's choice, baby. In the chat, Bjorn Stromsness says, wants to know, big question for you, Daryl Dike. Bigger shin guards might help some of these guys. Daryl, are you a big shin guard or little shin guard, gent? And can you explain little shin guards other than being a humble brag?
See, I'm a little shin guard kind of guy. The thing is,
yes, please tell me. What is it?
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't know why. Because Because the thing is, once you start playing, you do not even realize about them at all. I think for me, I like little shin guards because at first I was like, okay, like they were cool. I thought they were cool at first, I guess. And then on top of that, I kind of thought, okay, I do feel a little bit easier because if you get shin guards that are too big, yes, they're just annoying, I guess. But that also being said, they do protect you, and you don't really notice them after playing for about 30 seconds. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I really
by
don't
the
know
way,
why people.
God bless
I
you
see
for
some shin guards, and they're like this small, and I'm like that's
just
not necessary.
just to recap, D, you are so amazing. You didn't BS me. You didn't give me like a wind speed or like performance.
Nah.
You just like they look cool and you don't really think about them. And maybe you should wear bigger ones. Jack Grealish has got a lot to answer for. God bless. Trenar in the chat says, Rog, I know Joe Scally played well. But are you disappointed that we didn't try Weir at right back in one of these games as a potential replacement for this? No, I'm not. I'll tell you this to be completely candid. We'll talk about this. I'm happy to talk about it more. Ultimately, international football is won by lockdown backlines. That's ultimately it. It's not won by having fullbacks who can push out recklessly and be caught out. It's not the club game. This is not the club game. I would rather Scally feels good about himself than we are actually giving ourselves another offensive tool at the right. I mean, even if you look at how France got into the World Cup final in the last, how France are the best. I mean, comparing US to France is a ridiculous thing, but ultimately, or England to the World Cup semi-final, lockdown, backline, conservative football. Work out how to score from set pieces, nick a goal, hold on. That's what I'll be candid, that's what I would love from this US team. But we're jumping ahead. 64 minutes. We ring in the changes. Johnny Cardoso comes on. God bless him. Must have felt unbelievable. This kid who grew up in the United States but moved to Brazil, I think age 2, now to trot on and face the Seleção for him and his family. God bless. May we all have that kind of joy. Be like me playing against England. When are you going to call me up, Grego? But for Brazil, Endrick came on. 17-year-old wonderkind, charged immediately at Tim Ream. Difference of about, give or take, 75 years and about 40 miles per hour. But God bless, Ream held on. Pulisic almost fired us into the lead. Lashed a mid-range shot with power. Not so clinical. Alisson running one way, diving the other, parried with a wrist of a Scouse onanist. It was almost as if the United States players were at a certain point in the second half, and you'll know this being an Orlando man, they drew strength from the frustration of the thousands of fans in that stadium who'd come to cheer Brazil, wanted to see the United States torn apart and were disappointed.
Yeah, no, I think obviously when you're playing a game like that, right, there's just tons of emotions, obviously, because you see the stands, you see the crowds, you see all the people in them, and all you kind of want to do is prove them wrong. And even then, there's some fans that you just think to yourself, you're like, okay, it gives you fuel, it gives you motivation, it gives you this, kind of drive to continue competing, especially in Orlando where it can be super hot. Um, and that's kind of what you need. You need to find motivation. So whether it be with the Brazil fans cheering you that give you motivation, or your own fans, you always you feel the motivation through the fans, and they kind of give you and guide you through that.
Gotta tell you, I don't like to overreact, but we are going to win the World Cup. It is known. Matt Turner, incredible reflex save from Rodrigo. Then Tyler Adams came on. I do want to talk about Tyler with you, Daryl. It's so good to see him back in action in a US jersey. I'm not going to just say this because he's my friend. He is such a big difference maker for this US team, Daryl. You played with him. Can you talk about the importance, the centrality of Tyler, a fit Tyler for this US team in terms of the intensity he brings, the intensity he demands of all those around him? Can you put it into your own words?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, playing with Tyler, I mean, you realize how much of a leader he is, right? I think he's one of the most vocal people on the pitch. And it's not even just how he talks, it's what he does. He's always going to be running. He's always going to have your back. He's always going to be tackling. He's going to be fighting for every single ball. He leads by example. And that's kind of one of the things you can show. He shows that like in the match. And then on top of that, when he gets the ball, calm, playing, doing his thing, playing out of the back, always wanting the ball, always wanting to help, always helping his teammates. And I think that's something that's very, very important to have. And I think him coming back fully fit and everything is something that's going to be so important to the squad because I mean, he's a leader. He's someone that everybody on the squad looks up to, even though he's not. You don't have to be Tim Ream's age or one of the older guys to lead that way. He leads in his own way, and I think it's something that's very, very important.
Tim Ream's older than your dad, Daryl. That's quite a high bar to set, but
that's Team Dad.
Team Dad. Your dad, Tim Ream and Rog. But Brendan Aronson had a close range shot smothered again by Allison. Honestly, it was like you can make the case through red, white, and blue tinted glasses tonight. It was just Allison and the crossbar that Yunus Musa which kept Brazil in it tonight. Slight exaggeration there, but I want to credit the United States tonight. I thought our back line was terrific. Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Joe Scally, Anthony Robinson, and Matt Turner. I'd say Matt Turner often doubted. As I said earlier, 11 saves. Such a key part for me of successful international football, a defiant back four. And I guess everything's been building up to this, Daryl, for me in terms of what I wanted to talk to you about. Such a key part of the game at the international level in tournaments is organisation, is conservative football. And, we often try and play such complicated football in the United States. And I'm always like, why are we doing this? International football is won by lockdown backlines. I said it earlier, working out to nick a goal. We got bloody Pulisic. Get the ball to that man. Let him cause havoc. Tonight was how we win games. Let him run at people, draw a foul, be pissed off that it's not a penalty, thrash the free kick in anyway. Hold on. That's how you win international games. But there's something about the American mindset. Almost decades of feeling lesser, inferior. We kind of feel we don't just have to play football, we have to razzle-dazzle. We have to play like Barcelona, in the early 2000s. Ultimately, tonight I saw the kind of performance, a pragmatic performance, a defensive performance, a robust performance, a reactive performance, a strong performance. That's the kind of football I want to see. I mean, this was ferocious collective football.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you said is, you said it best. And I think it's having the identity that how we're going to play and how we're going to be. I think some people may look at our squad and think we should play like Man City, think we should play like Barcelona, and think we should play like some of these club teams, which I'm not going to lie to you, it's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
Breaking news for Double D.
We have a certain identity and we have players that fit a certain profile, and I think we have to work on playing players with that kind of profile rather than just thinking of a certain structure that we see online that we play in FIFA or a Football Manager or whatever, and think, oh, because this player plays a winger or this player has done this, that we can play them here and do this. Versus, for example, I don't know, like for example, like I think Timothy Weah plays very well in the wing. Versus at Juventus, I think maybe his needs at right wing back, it satisfies them a little bit more. But I think on the wing, he offers us something that no other winger that we have offers, And I think that's something that's very, very important in our squad, is identifying the personnel and having that sort of identity to kind of bunker down to play with that, how we know we should play and how we can play and how we can play to win games.
Amen. Greg Berhalter just said via ESPN's Jeff Carlisle, we feel like we made a little step. It's not a huge step, but a little step. Very, very smart there from Greg, playing this down. Terrific performance ahead of the games becoming live. A lot of questions coming in from chat. I want to ask you a couple of quick ones before you go, Double D. We'll take your questions via call in one moment. But Zachariah Tollison asked in the chat. So, we get destroyed by Colombia and almost should have beat maybe the best team in the world. Are we chaos, Daryl Dike? How do you explain it?
I think it's a difficult thing. They're friendlies for a reason, right? We didn't go into these games having everything figured out. It's a different crop, different kind of group of players, and every single game is a little bit different. We haven't played very many South American teams, to be fair,
Yes.
and this is our first time playing a South American team. And I think at the end of the day, you go, and what is more important, if anything, is that we go and you can see us grow. So we lost that 5-1 game to Colombia, and then you go and you see us play Brazil, and you see us play the way that we did. So it kind of shows that the friendlies are working, that we are learning, that we are growing game by game, minute by minute, and that's kind of the chaos. Not every game's going to run smoothly. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen.
God bless you.
And I think that's kind of the beast. That's going to
Daryl
happen.
Dike nailing the two most important points. Number one, I said it at the top, never read too much into friendlies. And then the second thing, articulated by Tyler Adams in episode 1 of The Captain. I think we're taping episode 2 on Monday, to send in your questions for Tyler now. He said the whole point of the Copa is for this US team to test themselves, as Daryl just said, against South American teams who you do not get the chance to play enough. So this is what matters, the evolution game to game against these South American teams. And finally, please God, this summer to play a great team, Uruguay, and look them in the eye and feel that we can go toe-to-toe. David, great question from you in the chat. Daryl, why can't we play this type of style more often? 11 men behind the ball. Tony Pulis, porn baby. For those of you who are young, Tony Pulis was the Stoke manager when they were a real thing. And it was very primitive football. It was just like soak it all up and then just smash it forward to a big dude to make crap happen. But David's question is, when the game is heavy-legged, anything can happen. It's a tough question for you, but tonight was a very different style, a more reactive style, a more respectful style. We weren't trying to play Harlem Globetrotters, build it out the back all the time. We were thoughtful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you can't play every single style game because not every single opponent you're playing is the same. Not every player that you play on the pitch is going to be the same. I think going into the game, you have to respect your opponents and know that Brazil is a very good side, and know that there's going to be a lot of times where they have a lot of the ball. There's going to be times where Vinicius Jr., Joe Scally did very, very well, but there's going to be times where Vinicius Jr. gets him behind. There's going to be times where Rodrigo gets him behind. Maybe if we're playing Costa Rica, maybe if we're playing Honduras, maybe if we're playing Mexico, Canada, Colombia, whoever it may be, it's a different opponent every single game, different players every single game. So each game's not going to go the same way. Not every single game, not any game is the exact same match as the one before. There's always going to be something different, or else, yes, of course, we play unbelievable if we could play unbelievable every single game. But unfortunately, that's just not how we just can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we've completed CONCACAF many times, but it doesn't prepare you as a gamer for the big ones. This Copa will. One more for you before I let you go. Matt Murphy. In the chat, this isn't a question. He says, Daryl Dike is a great guest to have. He's been in the mix. He has real insight. When you say in the mix, Matt Murphy, I thought you meant in the mix Discarood, and it made me very sentimental. We'll get the last question. J-Pro, incredible question for you. Daryl of Edmond, Oklahoma, and bizarrely, a lot of Edmond, Oklahomans in the chat tonight, which I just love. Shout out. I'd love to do a show one day live in Edmond, Oklahoma with Daryl Dike and my friend Josh Richardson. We could just talk about football. Two great Oklahomans who love this game. But the question is, Daryl, what would you name an Oklahoma MLS team?
See, that's a good question. I don't know. I think the thing about Oklahoma is you'd have to do something with tornadoes. I think it has to be something with tornadoes. Obviously, there's the thunder, which is already a kind of storm thing, but like the Oklahoma City tornadoes, I don't know if that sounds like, but like I'm trying to think like a cyclones or something. But it have to be something along the lines of tornadoes or something like that, because it's something that's very specific towards Oklahoma.
And by the way, MLS love that. They love two things. They love people who can pay a lot of money for a franchise to get on at Oklahoma. And then they love names of things that have caused great destruction, like the Chicago Fire, which blows my mind. Oh, the thing that almost destroyed the whole city, the Great Fire, yes, or no. Or the San Jose earthquakes, yes, really caused havoc and chaos. We'll name a team that. I do love that. God, the Oklahoma Chaos is probably the way to go. Daryl, I do know you've got to go. I'm going to take a couple more questions. But those
Nice.
pina coladas in the Bahamas do not drink themselves.
No,
I'm
that's fine.
going to leap into the questions. I'm going to cut you loose, you beautiful bloke. Last one for you from me. As you look ahead to the Copa and the American group Bolivia, Panama, and Uruguay, what gives you most hope?
A game like today. I think a game like today gives us the most hope because Brazil being arguably the top team in South America, and obviously Argentina, and then us being arguably the top team in CONCACAF, I think we show that we can compete against anybody. So when you go into a game against Bolivia, Uruguay, these good teams, you show that you can compete. You've shown that you can already compete at a high level. It's going to be difficult, of course, but I think that's kind of the thing is every single time we have come up against a top team, we've competed. You look at Netherlands, you look at England, um, you look at now Brazil, and they compete every single time. And so when it comes to a big competition like this, I think we're gonna do well. I think we're gonna compete in the group, and it'll be exciting for sure.
God, Oklahoma Twisters from Matt Murphy. Skink Kid says Oklahoma Chaos. Zachariah Tollison says it best. Love you, Daryl. Thanks for being with us. You are a remarkable man. Big love to your family there in the Bahamas, to all the DKs. Daryl, honestly, it's a joy and a wonder to break this game with you down tonight. Thank you, beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
We'll speak to you during the tournament. Courage. Oh, what an incredible human being. Genuinely one of my favourite human beings in the entirety of football. We have a quick minute to take some of your questions. Reminder of how this works here on YouTube Live. Scan that QR code in the top left of your screen or click the pin comment in the chat. Take you to a Zoom with our producer, Great Tony, the mighty Tony Chow. Tell you everything you need to know. Let's start with Sam. From Kansas City, where I just was, who wants to know how Daryl will fit into a system like we played tonight. Oh my God, Sam, we just lost the man, and now we get to ask the question. Tell us why you're asking and what you're thinking.
Yeah, so I really think with his power, just his strength, and then his ability to just get in behind, kind of like Josh Sargent has, but with a little bit more strength, I think it could really suit the way we played tonight and against England, just specifically. I think it could be really effective just against people who kind of have their backs turned, running away from or running towards the goal, I guess.
I mean, honestly, he's gone, so I can say it's hard to watch tonight. I don't know how Daryl experienced, honestly, watching tonight. You speak to some footballers. I remember speaking to Crystal Dunn, who missed the 2015 World Cup. She was the last person cut. She said she couldn't watch it. It was just such an agony to be a fan. She couldn't be a fan. She wanted to influence the games and found it almost immensely difficult. I watched tonight, to be candid. I thought it would be incredible to just watch this physical intimidator in every regard. It really stretched the back lines. Ultimately a fit Daryl Dike with this US team would give them a delirious option. But I also know this, and I think you all do, which is why the joy to be with him. He's an incredible human being as well as a footballer. So to be able to have him on during the Copa is a thing of wonder. Can I just very quickly tell you, Sam, some of you already know because you live there, I don't. Your city's amazing. We were just there last week. I was there with Sam Lewis. I think we ate, I'd like to boast and say all the burnt ends, but probably just most of the burnt ends. It's a remarkable...
Yeah, I watched your live show. It was awesome.
Thank you for coming, you beautiful human being. We're actually coming back the night before the US team play in your city. I'm coming with Brendan Hunt. We're going to play the Madrid Theatre. I can't wait to be back. The football culture in your city is like no other I have encountered, and I can't wait to be back with you. You're an incredible human being. I'm going to take another quick question. It's from Raul Garcia from Tulsa. In the greats. This is Oklahoma night at Men in Blazers. Raul, tell us exactly where you're from and what's your question.
Hey, Raj, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, you incredible human being.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm actually in Tulsa, but I'm originally from Dallas, so I've got a lot of that sports history written into me. as I assume you would know.
A lot of your footballers in this squad from that Dallas academy, which is
Oh,
like
absolutely.
the South London of the United States in terms of the incredible. God, Chris Richards had a game tonight, Ralph.
Yes. Oh my God. And then of course with the legacy and everyone else tied in, especially my favorite would be Wes. Mr. McKinney there, tear it up. But yeah, so it's
By
that
the way,
along with
we just shot a film in Dallas about the football culture. We're coming out with a couple of films about the different cities that the Copa's been played in. And there's a mural of Wes in Dallas still. Beautiful mural. But I think it was for the last World Cup, so it's had a little bit of damage to it. And I think someone's come.
Oh no.
It's a beautiful mural. And they've just cut out his mouth. It's like there's a huge square where his mouth should be, which is just symbolically incredible.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Wes without his mouth is just like maybe half the player.
But that's his superpower right there. That's how he gets into everyone's head.
What's your question, Ralph?
I'm seeing this transition here from the 5-1 loss to a 1-1 tie with Brazil's A team. What do you honestly believe needs to happen to get this sort of consistency from our guys?
I mean, that's ultimately, Raul, that's the cliffhanger that we've left. I mean, ultimately, if this summer is a Netflix series, we just watched episode 2, right? And the cliffhanger that we've been left on is exactly your question. Like, I thought tonight was magnificent. I mean, we've talked about it at great length, so I don't need to repeat myself. But it's night and day with what we saw in the first game. On one level, yes, that's what friendlies are for, working through the process. But that question now, like, which is the real United States? Which is the real, Greg Berhalter team? Which is the real us? Is it the we fans have such a English fans dream, but they dream based on a team of this team. This England team is talent soaked. These are global superstars, and they've done things in tournaments. This is new for England. Like when I was a kid, there were many tournaments they didn't qualify for, and there were many tournaments they crapped out early after singing songs about how they'd win it all. They now do go deep. They were final of the last Euro, semi-final of the World Cup.
Right.
They do go. They do go
to the old England or the superstar team. I believe it was the early 2000s where there was nothing but internal separation and egos and such. I think it was early Beckham days.
You're talking about the 2006 team who crapped out really early, and then Frank Lampard, Stevie Gerrard, and Ashley Cole all had massive book deals, and they put the books out immediately they got home, and the books all, like, no one brought them, and they all very quickly ended up in the discount bin.
Yeah.
And Joey Barton, before he was the awful Joey Barton, while he was just still the unknown awful Joey Barton, he said about the team, he said, the motto of the World Cup was, "I played shit. Here's my book," which I love. But yes, you're right.
And of course, Rio Ferdinand just standing back, just watching the disaster happen in front of him.
That was the England team. But this modern England team, they are bloody good. So the English fans dream. They yearn. I'm not saying this is just an American thing, but we dream in a very different way. We aspire. We really, truly aspire. And often there's such a discordance between our hopes and our dreams and the reality, and it's excruciating. We are like Charlie Brown kicking that football with Lucy Holding over and over and over again. You look at the number of tournaments we've gone into and won a knockout game. I mean, that's ultimately our barometer. That's the bar we're trying to raise. And so,
why do you do this to yourself, Raj?
Yeah, so we yearn and we dream. And which one are we? Are we the Colombia team that gets shellacked, humiliated, we soil ourselves? Are we the team that goes toe-to-toe, Raul, as we did tonight against Brazil? And you're asking the key question, and I can't answer it. That's the cliffhanger. It's why you're the perfect human being to finish this conversation, because Raul, we do not know. And what do we do as American fans, Raul, when we do not know? We dream. we dream and we hope and we hope. I read an Elie Wiesel quote yesterday. I don't know why I was reading one of his books, but I was. And it said, when hope dies, you invent new hope. That's what humanity is. And I feel like that's what we've done tonight together, Raul. We have invented new hope. And hope is not certain. Hope is a belief. It's a yearning. It's a vision. And that's where we are. And I do not know. I do know the people who can answer the question. Well, it's really, it's Greg Berhalter in terms of his approach, his learnings, his lesson, his ability to operate under the microscope, which is where he is right now. Make no mistake. Like, we have to get out of this group. Have to. To me, we have to win a knockout game. We have to go toe to toe, possibly with Colombia or Brazil that we met tonight. We hope for Brazil performances, not like Colombia friendly performances. But Raul, you have just beautifully framed exactly where we are, because honestly, we do not know, and that's the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you answer your own question. What do you expect? Which is the real us, Raul, in your mind?
Well, oh my goodness! Of course, you're gonna put it right back on my lap. I'm gonna say, with full passion and with some of the energy that we approached the World Cup with, this tonight was the real U.S. team, in my opinion. And I think the previous 5-1 Colombia was our arrogance sort of taking the first step forward. And, you know, just like any other human being, sometimes we just need a wake-up call. And if this sort of pace holds, then I'm pretty sure we get out of the group phase. And then with that pace, then we can go even further and maybe even impress. And then Greg can get his marquee signature or historical win. But, you know, just like you said, that's exactly what hope is doing. And I have no idea if that's actually going to hold up or not.
God bless. Let's hope. I mean, hope solo is what I think of when I think of Hope Raul Garcia. And I'll leave that wherever you want to leave it. I think she's actually a phenomenal world-class goalkeeper.
I agree.
He bolsters me in every regard. Raul, you're a beautiful human being. I'm going to let you be the last question because I've enjoyed this so greatly. And time is super late.
Thanks, Raj. You are a legend.
I'm going to interview Jesse Marsh super early in the morning for some of our Canadian friends. I do want to note a couple of questions that have come in. Great comments tonight in the chat. I really adore it. Andrew O'Connor, old school GFOP, bolsters me with joy. A man of the clergy, so I take his words double serious. He writes, when hope dies, you invent new hope. Also, it will be an incredible lyric in our World Cup song. Yes! I'm putting that World Cup song together as we speak. Andrew O'Connor, God bless. Christina Stotts, another old GFOP. Ricardo Pepe was right when he said that we have to make the knockout stage. We have to win a game, Christina Stotts. Let's be candid. Lots of questions coming in our IGDMs. Follow us, send your thoughts to @Men in Blazers. On Instagram, follow us on YouTube, subscribe now. We're going to do a ton of Do It Lives throughout the Euros. And also, obviously, the Copa. Come and be with us every night with an incredible cast of characters, including Rebecca Lowe after England game this weekend. This one from Sarah in Chattanooga, mighty state of Tennessee. She asks, oh, I love this. How important were those Matt Turner saves? Not just in the context of this game, but in terms of Matt Turner's confidence. Look, you cannot win games in a tournament without a confident goalkeeper. We saw Matt Turner, I hope, regain his confidence. The Matt Turner at the end of the game and the Matt Turner at the beginning of the game, two different human beings. He was rattled at the beginning. He ended feeling omnipotent. Matt Turner, by the way, even in bad games, Matt Turner's the one, and he was tonight. I've not heard it. I've just seen it with the mute button on. Matt Turner was the one after the Colombia game who spoke to the media. Matt Turner was the man taking a lap of honour, I hope, tonight. And that is the mark of an incredible human being, an incredible leader. So I'd say, Sarah, it's so unbelievably important that may he continue to soar. He's a bloody force of good. Last one from our inbox. Kevin from Cheyenne, Winnet, Wyoming. Rog, do you think Colombia was actually a blessing in disguise? We saw more pragmatism tonight. Will we see that going more forward? How dangerous can we be? Look, I think this team can be bloody dangerous. I won't be completely clear. This is a great note to finish on, Kevin. Thank you. Even as I totally mispronounce your hometown. This United States team can be unbelievably dangerous. Look, Switzerland can beat Spain at the last Euros by having an idea of the football they want to play and playing with collective tenacity and ferocity. Why can't we do that on a night against a great team and bloody clip them? We can, but it's how we take the field. It's about the plan we have. And I love your framing. Colombia could be seen, and all of narrative is fitted retroactively. We decide all of these things depending on how we progress. If we crap the bed at the Euros, I'm getting in with the 27%. If we crap the bed at the Copa, we'll say the Colombia game we didn't learn the lessons of. If we saw, we will fit your schema that you've come up with. But I do know this because I've just had a kid that's graduated last weekend. And the reality is about youth. You feel invincible. Youth, you feel like you're inventing everything. Youth, you feel it's wonderful. It's incredible. You know, I'm looking at the way my kid behaves and some of the stuff he does it makes me horrified. And then I remember, holy crap, I did exactly the same thing. And then you learn lessons and you kind of realize, well, what you're doing is slightly insane. That's what the US are in the process of learning. And I do believe there is a narrative where we say, Colombia, we lost our arrogance. Colombia, we gained humility. Colombia, we gained a sense of our true self. Colombia, we gained a sense of our own strengths, but more importantly, our own weaknesses. And we created a system that played against them. So Godspeed. I'm going to say to you, Kevin, from Wyoming, I hope your framework is a framework we learn from. And I can't wait. Bolivia's next, June 23rd. We will be covering every step of the way. So much content coming out before now and then. I do wish this tournament was making more noise. I wish this team was making more noise. We will make as much bloody noise as we can together. Here's a look at everything coming up at Men in Blazers World Headquarters. Starts tomorrow. We're going to release a pair of Euro previews with the great Rory Smith, whom I love, in which we'll break down every team in this tournament, group by group, prospect by prospect, your ultimate Euro primers. I hope they tell you all you need to know for your listening pleasure, your viewing pleasure. Those will be available on our pod feed and right here on our YouTube channel. Subscribe today. They're brought to you by the great GFOPs at Camarina Tequila. I adore those human beings. Did I mention Los Angeles? We're coming to do a live show to kick off this summer of soccer together. Me and my beautiful friend Brendan Hunt will be so delirious tonight. Coach Beard in Ted Lasso fame. We're going to talk Copa. We're going to talk Euros. We may talk In-N-Out Burgers. It's at the El Rey Theatre next Wednesday, a week tonight, June 19th. Tickets all over our social. Come and be with us. Come and raise a pint with us. Come and ask me your questions in person. I'll be back tomorrow with those Euro previews. We have Copa previews. Just on the horizon. And until then, America, let's enjoy tonight. Let's raise a glass to it all and say, courage.